Hello and welcome to the Stew with JT Brew. I'm your host, Justin Taylor, along with Bryan Toast Clark. Another edition of NHL Around the Ice coming towards you. On this edition, we're going to talk about hockey season. We're third of the way through our preseason. We talked about awards, some gambling we liked, some players we thought were favorites, some long shots. We're going to kind of look back over all that and say, hey, who are we liking midway through the year? So stick with us. You're in the stew.
You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like a commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sifting through through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stew with JT Brew.
Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Tonight, we're going to go on our Toast Takes, our mid-season awards. So, Toast, this is how we're going to kind of run things off tonight. We're going to pretend we got a bunch of free bets saved up on the old DraftKings or FanDuel account. We're going to jump in there, and we're going to say, hey, where's the odds at right now? Who do we like depending on the odds? Who are some long shots we like? And we'll kind of bounce them off the players we liked at the beginning of the season. See if, hey, is it some of the same guys? Are we still in the same boat? Have we changed our mind on a few teams or players that we like? So that's what we're going to do. This is our NHL Around the Ice JT and Toast mid-season award show. So, Toast, let's kick it off. Everybody loves the MVP. We're not going to be one of those shows that waits to the very end to give you our MVP. So you get mad and you're trying to skip through and figure out who we want for MVP. This is who we're talking about. We're going to go right off the bat. MVP award, the Hart Trophy, 22-23 winner. Not even close. Connor McDavid, Edmonton Oilers just ran away with it. We discussed in the preseason kind of who were some guys we like. Obviously, McDavid was the favorite. He was at a minus 105 in most books. We both talked about Jack Hughes for the Devils. We liked what the Devils could do. We thought he was a come-up player. Plus 1,800 was a little bit of a long shot bet that both of us liked. And then we had a super long Hail Mary. This guy, if his team plays really well, we think he could maybe steal it. And that was Alexander Barkov, plus 10,000 for the Florida Panthers. That's where we were at the beginning of the year. Now we're midway through. Who are the players you're looking at? What are some of the guys you think have played well this midseason? And then who do you think turns it on down the stretch here?
Well, JT, let's start off by maybe talking about Hughes and Barkov, who we liked at the very beginning of the season at plus 1,800, like you said, and plus 10,000 for Barkov. Those are players that had the pedigree, and they actually also had the betting odds we really liked because, quite frankly, let's face it, a lot of times all these awards, they're like throwing darts. You can research and actually think all you want. A lot can happen in a season. You have injuries. You actually have line changes. You have other injuries to the key players that affect that actually player. So it's just coaching changes, and you name it. It just a lot actually plays into it. I do want to say that the Hart Trophy for the MVP, you can look at it two different ways. You can look at it based on for the player that has the best statistics, or you can also look at the player who is most valuable to that team, right? And I don't even know in real life if everybody's really got that figured out. It's kind of a mixed bag, right? So our thought going in here, liking Jack Hughes at 1,800, like you said. I mean, this is a team, given their firepower with actually getting a Timo Meier who has not actually produced. Already having Hughes there, Jesper Bratt actually really come into his own last year. It just felt like a team that was ready to kind of take the jump. Now, Hughes, the way he came out of the gates, you remember that, JT, how he came out of the gates? Man, he was
on fire.
He was on fire. It was gangbusters. At plus 1,800 was just looking absolutely amazing. And honestly, I still like it. I actually don't hate it, but they've cooled off just a little bit, that team.
I was going to throw it in here. Just looking at the lines, Hughes is actually at plus 650. So us being on him at the beginning of the year at plus 1,800, even though he's cooled off a bit, you've seen he's kind of raised up the board. I think right now, if I take a look, 1, 2, 3, he's fourth favorite for MVP. So us at plus 1,800 is looking pretty nice at him at plus 650 right now. And again, we talked about it. He got off on fire. The Devils did not necessarily start the way we thought they were. I think they're going to be a better second half team than they were first half team. Their goalie situation was atrocious to start the season.
Still is.
So I think they're going to, there's no way this team doesn't make some kind of move. You know, there's going to be some team that gets out of it that's down and they say, hey, man, we'll ship a goalie to you guys. I just can't see New Jersey just sitting tight the rest of the year with his goalie situation. But I still like him. He's in there. You know, on the other side of things, sometimes it's good to wait. You just never know. Minus 105 for McDavid to start the year. You figure like, you know, he should win it again, but minus 105 isn't great odds for a season-long award. I mean, it's really terrible odds, actually. And so the fact that he started out there is like, yeah, do you want to throw 105 on that? I don't know. Well, he has some injury issues. Edmonton has not been good. He's still the favorite, but he's now tied at plus 350 with Nikita Kucherov. So Kucherov at plus 350, another guy both me and you liked. The odds, you know, we weren't sure what it was going to be, but man, he's a guy who has been on fire to start off the year. He has been good. Tampa's been good. So Kucherov has moved up the board there when David is currently sitting at plus 350, leading the way for the Hart Trophy.
Yeah, great points. Great points there. Kucherov obviously has always been a superstar in this league. There's no doubt about it. But what's really impressed me with Kucherov this year is the amount of volume he's actually shooting the puck. You know, if you look back at his last 2-3 seasons, he's a guy who really gets a million assists and actually, you know, does fairly well. I'm talking like 30 goals, 85 assists, you know, that type of player. I mean, now, you know, he's pacing for over 50 goals and over 75, 80 assists. He's pacing for about 140 points. And mainly it's because he's shooting the puck a ton. So I really, really like what Kucherov's actually done. And really, that's a Tampa Bay team right now that, you know, they missed their goaltender. And, you know, Vasilevsky was actually out for the first month and a half of the season. He had to carry him. Stamkos really is just now starting to catch his stride as well. So Kucherov has been the guy that's really kind of elevated play, his own play, and actually everybody else around him as well. And JT, before we kind of go into our favorites that we actually like, and this has been great with a lot of the odds preseason and in comparison to what they are now. The reason why we actually like the guy like Barkov at plus 10,000, it's throwing darts, right? 10,000. But man, they made.
You're throwing $5 out there. You're throwing $10 out on something like that.
Yeah, it's no big deal, right? So that's what you should be looking at. I mean, that's a smart bet going into the season because you know, they went to the Cup Finals. Him actually being the center of that team, you expected them to kind of take the next step because they really did take the next step last year and they become very elite. But they have a little bit of that cup loss hangover. They haven't been bad. They haven't been great though. And really Matthew Tkachuk's been a very, very big disappointment. We'll talk about that here in a bit as well. But nevertheless, Barkov didn't really work out, but I don't really hate the bet either. But JT, I'll tell you what, I'll switch this up a little bit. Maybe go ahead and tell me, who do you like now? And then I can follow you up with some of the Hart Trophy. Who do you like now?
Yeah, so for me, halfway through the season, the guy that I am leaning on, and I not only do I think he's my midseason winner, but I think he's a guy that can actually win it, is who we just talked about, Kucherov. I've got him on our home league. He's always been a scorer. He's always been a top, you know, depending on the year, 5 player, top 10 player in the league. But he has become a dynamic scorer this year. I mean, he is, like you said earlier, he's shooting a lot more. His goals are way up. And I think the fact that for once, Tampa Bay has been a little underrated just because of the injuries and some other things that happened. People were not so high on him. And then he was the guy that stepped up and kept them through in it in this early part of the season when things were a little rough and they needed a little boost from someone. I think that helps his MVP talk when you come at the end of the year. When people say, hey, what if he wouldn't have played like that in the first half of the season? You know, where would a Tampa Bay been with no goalie, without Stamkos, playing up to who would you expect out of him? That's where I think it helps him for that MVP talk, because I think they're going to be right there in the mix. And I think the fact that he isn't just having a normal really good season for him, he's elevated himself in other areas. And to me, that is what gets voters' attention, especially with some of the other stars, struggling a bit. Or I hate to always say this, sometimes guys are just so good that it becomes, second hand for people. Guys are going to vote and they're like, oh, well, he had 60 last year. He had 60 goals last year. He's got 60 this year.
Yeah.
Did he do anything more special? And if your team wasn't way better, I think sometimes those things can hurt you. So this is where I think the fact that Tampa Bay had to deal with a few things this year as opposed to being, one of the odds on favorites. I think that helps his cause, and the fact that he's elevated his game in some areas that he hasn't in the past, I think that helps his cause. So he's my number one. And before you get into all your guys, because I want to give you a chance to kind of, talk it up here. My number two right now, David Pastrnak, Boston Bruins. I just think they're going to be in the mix again. He's been right there all year, high score. I just think it's always hard to ignore a guy if the team ends up with the best record. I just think it's hard to ignore the best player on the best team. And he's in there right now. His odds are at plus 550. So you can get Kucherov at plus 350, which I love because I think Kucherov is the guy to win it. But if I had to go somewhere else, I like him at plus 550. I just think the Bruins are going to be in the mix all year. And if he keeps on pace with what he's been doing, I think he's going to get some looks, especially if McDavid, McKinnon, some of these other guys have solid seasons. Austin Matthews has a solid, good year, but their teams don't have great years. I think you could see them maybe going, do we give it to the best guy on the best team? So that's why I like him, because he's been super solid the whole first half of the season.
After you chose Pasternak, I'm wishing I actually chose him earlier when we were prepping for this podcast, JT. So I mentioned, is it the best statistics or the actual player that's most valuable to his team? And right now, if you were to go by that definition of MVP, literally, David Pasternak is probably the winner of the MVP. Boston actually coming off a historic regular season last year, the most points in regular season history in the league. They actually lose two of their, their two leaders really in that locker room there with Patrice Bergeron, David Krejci. And if you think about it, if you look at superstars on that team, it's him and it's Marchand. That's it. So, I mean, he's got 19 goals this year, 24 assists in 30 games, 158 shots on goal. Imagine if he wasn't on that team, where they'd be. And Boston, I think right now has the second or the third best record in the league right now. Nobody had them even close to actually having top record in the league based on what they lost last year. And they're not duplicating what they did last year. Nobody's ever going to do that. I mean, they're not going to do that this year. It's crazy. But that is probably your MVP. And honestly, who's the voters of this award are probably thinking something similar as well, because the statistics, even though they're not ridiculous like Kucherov, they're still really, really damn good. And at plus 550, that's great. I mean, and I mentioned Matthews, right? So I mentioned Matthews. The only reason I actually had Matthews in there as also maybe our dark horse at this point, JT, is because right now, remember, I don't know if you remember episode 2 or 3. We're in episode 13 right now. We've done 13 episodes already. Pretty excited about that. But this was the first year he was going to do the penalty kill, and they were going to be asked more of him this year. And also, they're going to ask more of Nylander as well. Those stars on that team have actually stepped up, and Matthews right now has got 25 goals. If you go look at his last 6-7 games, he is on a goal tear. It's unbelievable. 12 assists in 28 games. 25 goals in 28 games. He's almost a goal a game right now, 125 shots on goal. And Toronto is a team that, honestly, they're pretty top heavy, but they actually got guys like Sam Lafferty on a third line who actually start to help them round out and get a little bit more depth as well, and Max Domi and guys like that. So I think his supporting cast is a little bit better than what Pasternak actually has over Boston. So if you're looking at MVP, Pasternak probably is a best bet moving forward.
Yeah, and you mean you were the same. We had Kucherov number one, and then you had Matthews, and I had Pasternak, and I think that was the difference for me. I think unless Matthews blows away his stats from another year, now these stats are unreal. I mean, these are great freaking stats. But I said you get voters who get used to guys doing the same thing every year, and if Toronto is not all of a sudden the best team because he's the best player, I think maybe he gets knocked for that. Maybe he has great stats, but everybody goes, "Well, yeah, he always has good stats, but his team never wins, and they always have them, some of the most talented players in the league and the highest payroll and blah blah." I think you always find that people figure out ways to disregard players sometimes, and that's why I leaned a little bit towards Pasta over Matthews in that situation.
I love your selection, JT.
Let's move on to the next one. This one was something that was real interesting, and I know me and you discussed this last year, just personally when we were putting in some bets before the season. Norris Trophy, which goes the best defenseman, 22-23 winner was Erik Karlsson, San Jose Sharks. We had seen, me and you, a bunch of guys we also talk hockey with, we follow on the X, all that stuff. We had seen a couple people talking about Karlsson and getting some great odds at a few books, and we're like, ooh, I kind of like that. I mean, they were crazy long odds. And he ended up winning it. He ended up having a resurgent year, a huge year for him. So I don't know if there's a guy like him in the mix this year, betting wise. But a few guys we kind of discussed and liked coming into the season. Rasmus Dahlin plus 800, Quinn Hughes at plus 1400, Miro Heiskanen plus 1400. Those were some of the guys that we originally looked at on the favorites list that we were kind of a fan of, kind of looking at it. Is there anybody are some of these guys jumping out to you? Do you still like some of those guys, or a few guys that kind of snuck up on you? I know we had a few more guys on our long shot list, which I always feel like that's maybe the spot, the Norris Trophy. If you're going to get a long shot, maybe that's the one you can steal one with a Hail Mary. Evan Bouchard plus 4,000 was one you really liked as far as a Hail Mary kind of at the end. And then there was one or two other guys I know you liked in that mix. Kind of what are we thinking as we talk about Norris Trophy winner midway point of the season and who we think eventually comes home with it?
Yeah, JT. Before I give you my selections here, let's talk a little bit more in detail. I'll kind of piggyback on you on who we liked preseason. But Rasmus Dahlin at plus 800, he's got great statistics so far. But to get the Norris Trophy, and I know last year wouldn't actually prove that because Erik Karlsson for a very, very poor San Jose team actually won it, but Karlsson had over 100 points. And that never happens for a defenseman. I mean, come on.
And again, we just talked about this before. You either have to have crazy stats. Your stats have to be that much better than everybody. If you're on a bad team, then people don't ignore the stats. Now, if they're pretty similar to a lot of other guys, you almost have to be on a winner. If you're not on a winner, people just tend to not vote for guys unless their stats are over and above. And Karlsson's stats were over and above last year.
Yeah, and they were. And Dahlin, like I said, if you look at the statistics, a phenomenal season so far. But unfortunately,
killing it for fantasy for me.
Yes.
But is he going to win a trophy? I don't know if he's going to win a trophy, though.
No, things in Buffalo hasn't worked out. And, Buffalo actually hosts a Columbus team last night. They lose 9-4. 9-4. And things are very, very bad there. I'm guessing that the coach is eventually going to get fired at this rate here. He's not going to last. So if you look at the Norris Trophy, there's too much volatility with that team for him to actually win a Norris. But another guy, Quinn Hughes, you talk about who we actually liked in the preseason based on, who is the favorites now. Quinn Hughes was plus 1,400 in the preseason. He's the all-out favorite now, JT, at plus 110. Hughes so far right now, 9 goals, 32 assists, and 32 games played. He got an assist a game. He's your all-out favorite. Honestly,
Love it.
Vancouver's really they've been a resurgence story for this season. I mean, they really came on at the second half of last season after they made the coaching change, and this year they haven't really missed a beat. And we'll talk about Vancouver here in a bit because they just had a phenomenal season so far. And really, Quinn Hughes is. I mean, they got so many superstars on that team, but Quinn Hughes is one of them. But plus 1,400 down to plus 110. What value for Hughes?
Freaking love it. He was my number one. He was your number one. I feel like this is maybe my favorite bet we made all off season. I mean, you gotta love this one. The guy went 1,400 to minus 110. Just absolutely love it. Now, there's a couple other guys on this list I think have an outside shot. I'll go first. I'll go first with my number 2 guy, and I'll give you my reasoning. So my number 2 guy right now, Adam Fox, New York Rangers. And the reason I like Fox, he's missed, I think, about 10 games with injury. He's been a little banged up, but I like what the Rangers have done. I think they're going to be really solid. I feel like this team is built for the playoffs, especially in the East. I just think they're better than most of the teams in their division. I think this team's going to end up with a really good record in the end. I think they're defensive minded, and Adam Fox is kind of the leader on that defense. He originally started the year second favorite behind Cale Makar, was plus 190 for the Avs. Fox is plus 500 to start the year. Guess where he is sitting right now at the season?
Wow, I would imagine probably quite a bit of a difference, JT.
Plus 2,500. He went from second favorite at plus 500 to now he's at plus 2,500, as I think he's the fourth or fifth favorite, depending on what site you look at plus 2,500. Him and Dahlin are both plus 2,500. I love Dahlin, and we just talked about his team's not good enough. He's not going to win it unless something crazy happens. He's not going to win it. I love re-jumping, especially if you already bet on Adam Fox preseason. Double down time. It is that time. You double down at plus 2,500. He has an okay start to the season. He's been banged up. But if this Rangers team makes a run and they compete for that 1 or 2 seed in the East, and the defense plays the way it's been playing, I think Adam Fox is going to get a lot of votes. So I am liking Adam Fox. He's my number 2. He's my little bit more of a long shot, and I love it because he went from a favorite to a little more of a long shot now. So Hughes is my guy first off, but I am jumping on Adam Fox as my second bet.
Adam Fox is a great selection, and anybody that's considering, placing any future bets right now, listen to what JT just said, because specifically Quinn Hughes is 1 injury away from Adam Fox being a favorite, and Cale Makar, he's always injured. So that's why I don't think Makar will win this award. And honestly, Makar's actually won an award before. He won it 2 years ago, I believe, before Carlson. And I do like Bouchard. Evan Bouchard is actually a guy that I have as my backup behind Quinn Hughes. I like after Edmonton made the coaching change. And really, that really lit a fire underneath that entire organization. And now they're kind of playing like the Edmonton of old. They've lost a couple of games here in a row, but nevertheless, from a statistic standpoint, they're really actually filling up the net. They are really putting up a lot of points. And Bouchard being the beneficiary on that power play quarterback, or on that power play as a quarterback there, he's going to have a lot of assists, an absolute ton of assists on a unbelievable offense. So in the preseason there, Bouchard, honestly, I don't even know what he's a plus 4,000 now. He's
plus 4,000. Yeah. Now he's plus 1,000. And you were on our preseason show. You liked him a lot. He was one of your favorite guys at plus 4,000. You just love the odds. You thought, hey, this is a team that can score. He's a power play 1 point guard. Like, he's a guy that can do it. And I love that. And actually, Bouchard was my next guy behind Fox. Like, he was, if I had to go, okay, let's go 3 deep. Who's the next guy you like? Bouchard was my next guy.
Yeah, and let's just say it right here on this podcast and make it official. because I believe Vancouver has a supporting cast around Quinn Hughes. They have the goaltending as well. I believe they actually maybe have the second or third best record in the league, best goal differential as well. We'll talk about them here in a bit. If he is healthy all year, he will win this award. That's my thought. But if health, and I don't believe health's ever really been a major issue for Quinn Hughes, but if not, I don't like Cale Makar. I don't think Evan Burchard's time's yet because this is his first full season. Adam Fox is a favorite at that point. So at plus 2,500, like you said, you can't beat that. So right now, that's the bet. That's the bet. If you're going to place a bet right now, it's Adam Fox plus 2,500.
Yeah, love it. So let's move on to our next award, Calder Trophy, top rookie. Who won this last year? Toast 22-23.
Matty Beniers.
Beniers from the Kraken, which I just had a conversation with a friend the other day. He's like, man, I think the Kraken knocked it out of the park with their uniforms. And I was like, I agree with you. I'm like, usually these new teams, they just go way over the top. I don't like anything they do. They go too flashy. I actually thought they crushed the Kraken uniform. So I just wanted to throw that little bit out there.
I like it.
So preseason, this one's always, little toughy. We're the rookies. We never see a lot of preseason odds because, a lot of the guys that are technically rookies are guys that have been in the minors for a while. And then all the guys that everybody knows because they just got drafted aren't actually going to play most of the time. They're going to play in the minors, kind of work their way up, get a little bit of time with the big club. So it's always tough to get preseason odds. So we don't have a real good list of preseason odds, but what me and Toast, we talked about it. Obviously, Toast, we got to talk about your boy, Connor Bedard. He's got to be the favorite. There was talk at the beginning of the year. There was no way he wasn't going to be the favorite as long as he was with the big club to start the year. He has been. The Blackhawks have been one of the most watched teams in the league to start this year, even though their record's not it. He's just been a great player. Who else out there, rookie-wise, are we starting to see now that we're halfway through the year? We know these guys they're part of the mix. They're staying on the roster. They're not an up and down call up. These guys are part of the main part of the team, and they've got a shot to maybe win this award with Bedard.
Yeah, for me, it's Adam Fantilli. Columbus have had so many problems this year with the inconsistency from Johnny Gaudreau, Patrick Laine. We talked about that last episode on their healthy scratches in our disappointment episode that we actually had. And Fantilli has become their best player. He's 19 years old. He was is the third player drafted in last year's draft. He should have been the second, in my opinion. And we actually had our buddy Mike Soderlund actually put $1 million on it. And guess what? It didn't happen. I felt really bad about that. But Fantilli right now, so far, JT got 9 goals, 10 assists in 33 games. That's 19 points in 33 games. He's pacing for probably around 60 points on a really bad Columbus Blue Jacket team. I like Fantilli to be the bet now if you're going to live bet this future bet, because again, a Bedard injury, you always got to think injuries with these with these awards. Fantilli's at plus 3,000 right now, and I really don't know why Fantilli's at plus 3,000, and you have other players that have not had the impact that Fantilli's actually had that are way lower or way better odds than that. So I love an Adam Fantilli. But give me a moment here to talk about.
Yeah, Toast, I'll jump in real quick on Fantilli. I think it has 100% to do with the fact that he plays for Columbus.
I
think it's 100%. People are not paying attention to him. They have been terrible. Now he's been good on a bad team, but people are just ignoring Columbus. They're not a historic team. Whenever they're bad, people don't pay attention. Even when they're good, they get very little attention. I hate to say it, but it's just the way it is. I got a cousin that lives in Columbus. We love going to games there. Tickets are always cheap. You can get tickets all the time. It's terrible because it's a great arena. Like the fans that actually go to the games are really good, but man, they just do not get any kind of look from the national media. I love the Fantilli pick. And before you get into a couple other guys, I'll throw in, Bedard's number one for you. He's number one for me. We know it is. But the problem with that is he's minus 300. So you got to put up 300 to win 100 on Bedard. Again, Do we think he's going to win it? Yes, we both think he's going to win it. Do you want to put the 300 up to get 100 back? That's up to you. Whether you want to place that type of bet, that's not typically us. We're not typically take these big long. We like the little more of the long shot bets. Number two for me, and again, it was injury in case something happened to Bedard. Luke Hughes for New Jersey, and I just think he has looked really solid. I think that team's gonna get better. Currently, he's sitting at plus 1,000, and the crazy thing is, he's the second highest odds right now, second best odds at plus 1,000 behind Bedard. That's how big of a lead Bedard has. He's at minus 300, and Luke Hughes is at plus 1,000. But if I wanted to sprinkle in some money in case something happened to Bedard, which, obviously we don't want any player to get hurt. We don't want to see anything happen like that. But in case something happened injury wise, he missed a lot of time. Could somebody else maybe steal it? Maybe they could. Hughes would be my next guy that I would look, and that would be partly because he's got a decent role on a team that could end up making the playoffs.
Yeah, and the only reason you would not bet Bernard, like you said, is two reasons: minus 300, and really you're banking on him being injured. That would be the only reason you bet anybody else, is to be probably one you'd want to stay away from, unless you're like, you know what, the odds are so good on a player like Fantilli, or even Luke Hughes, who really, Luke Hughes plays on a dynamic offense. He is the power play one quarterback on that team. He's going to get a lot of assists as well. I mean, so young, such a young player as well. I don't even think he's reached 20 yet. But let me just, as the homer, I will, and I'm wearing my Blackhawks jersey right now. Just let me talk about how great Bedard has been actually so far for an 18-year-old, youngest player in the league. Youngest player in the league right now, and he's a young 18-year-old at best. 12 goals, 16 assists, and that is 28 points in 31 games, 100 shots on goal. JT, given all the injuries they've had on that team, they're in full rebuild. He has no supporting cast. No supporting cast at all. He has been on an assist tear over the last 3 or 4 games. They have been taking their lumps. The fact that they can still, last night, beat a really, really good Colorado team at home and being as shorthanded as they are, and Bedard actually putting up 7 shots on goal, 2 assists. He was everywhere on the ice, making a big difference. 18-year-olds don't do that. He'll be a runaway with this award. You'll look back years from now, barring injury, and say that, yeah, we expected it wouldn't be close. It wasn't close at all. And right now, if you want to take a chance and put money on him right now, and this is only for individuals, bettors who have a lot of capital underneath them,
Mm-hmm.
right? A
Yep.
lot of capital underneath them, and he's durable. He's stocky with the legs. He's never actually gotten hurt at all. There's a couple players early on in the season taking runs at him, and that's actually stopped as well. You put $1 million on it. You put $1 million on it, they actually win a $500,000. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's going to happen.
It feels like unless something catastrophic happens, there is
Injury.
no way he's not winning this award. I mean, he has been everything that everyone said that they thought he would be, and everything kind of everyone hoped he would be. He has been that this half of the season for a not very good team. And I tell you what, Toast, as a Hawks fan for you, I know I've talked to a bunch of other fans that are Hawks fans. It's just the excitement for a team that has a bad of a record as the Blackhawks have.
Worse in the
It's
league.
unbelievable. Everybody's still watching the games. Everyone's excited. They're like, we got a shot to be really good. This kid's awesome. I've never seen such positivity from a team with a terrible of a record as them. But I think it's justified. I mean, do players not want to sign and play with this guy? I think this turns around the Blackhawks franchise insanely quick. I think there's a chance that they can go out and get free agents that want to play with him. Otherwise, I mean, I just think just him alone, he moves this thing up 3 to 4 years in time wise on how quickly this team can turn this around.
Yeah, and we won't make this a Blackhawks podcast, but let's just talk about that just for a second. However, that they obviously have the most cap space in NHL, and it's not close. They're struggling to get to the cap floor, and really, eventually when Bedard's ELC comes up, that you're signing him to the longest term possible, and you're signing him to probably what will be $12 million a year. And that's more than two or three players. That's only two or three players make more than that. And so you can't say, well, you're going to go out and make a big splash and maybe have another big player, but nevertheless, the cap floor is going up, and it's going to be going up significantly, or the cap ceiling is going to be going up significantly in the NHL starting next year. I believe they're actually going to be adding $5 or $6 million, and there's a little bit more money coming in as well. So a guy I just keep thinking of, and again, this is a midseason award podcast, but we'll just mention it here. Alex Nylander's getting paid. I'm sorry, William Nylander.
Yeah,
Alex, his brother Alex ain't getting paid. William Nylander is getting paid, and he'll be commanding about $11 to $12 million a season, 10 and a half, 11 and a half, whatever it may be, in an 8-year deal. Hawks got so much money; it's ridiculous.
And
you can't tell me
market. They're a big market. Guys want to play there. Going to games at the United Center. I mean, Chicago is a hockey town. Guys want to play there. I think they're going to be in the mix way sooner than we thought they would for big time free agents. I really do.
Yeah, they may not make the huge splash next year, but it would not shock me if all they come in and made a huge splash as one free agent, and it's mainly because of them being a hockey town and actually having been original six, JT, and you're absolutely right on that. Everybody's going to want to play with this kid. It's as simple as that. I mean, so the chance to actually play with him and actually have him be a center and having Nylander off on his wing, I just keep
you're getting me excited. Stop talking about it. You're getting me excited. Yeah, I hope Nylander is up there. I think it'd be freaking great. All right, we're gonna move on past Bedard, but yes, I think if you actually have if you have the capital, you got the money in your accounts, I think that's a slam dunk win. I think he wins that. Barring catastrophe, he wins the Rookie of the Year and pulls in that Calder Trophy. So let's move on to the Vezina. Best goaltender, 22-23 winner was Linus Ullmark. Who are we looking at this year? This is kind of always a crazy one because this is a team one as well as a player one because it's almost like a QB. You got to get wins as a goaltender in order to be in the mix here. You can't play for somebody bad and get a million saves and have a bunch of losses and win this award. So where are we kind of sitting at this point in the season, Toast?
Yeah, you took the words right off my mouth, JT. You got to have wins to win this award. So usually you got to look at those top 4, 5, 6 teams. You got to look at those goaltenders. Those are the ones that are going to win the award. And let's face it, usually a goalie who has the most wins also has a really good defense in front of him. The save percentage usually fouls as well. So there's no really reason to look at anybody else other than the teams that are on the top. In the preseason, we really like Jake Ottinger at plus 1,200. Now, Jake's recently injured. And Dallas has actually been really, really good, but I think the best is yet to come for Dallas. And we'll talk about Dallas here in a bit. And we really like the long shot of Alexander Georgiev at plus 2,500. Again, Colorado goalie. He was runner up, I believe, and the Vezina last year for Linus Ullmark. And he had 40 wins for Colorado. And this year, I don't believe he has that many wins this year, but nevertheless, he's had a decent season, but nowhere close to Vezina worthy at all. But JT, that's kind of who we were thinking heading into this season. Who'd you end up liking? Who do you like right now?
I tell you what, I feel like this was the award that swung the most from preseason, who we kind of like, which I feel like goalie does that all the time. You always feel like you know who the best goalies are.
Throwing darts with a goalie.
The injuries happen and guys get on teams and it just meshes right. Thatcher Demko, Vancouver. I mean, they've just played out of their mind. He is now the favorite at plus 350. He's a guy who I know a lot of people thought had some pretty good talent. But, the defense was terrible for them the last couple of years, and he just got worked. But that's not the case anymore. A guy that I am big on, and the resurgence, Cam Talbot for the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, who?
Right now,
wow.
He's at plus 400. Who would have guessed that he would be in it? And honestly, to me, if you're going mid-season goaltender of the year, MVP as a goaltender, Vezina Trophy winner, for me, mid-season is Cam Talbot. The guy has been unbelievable The Kings are relevant, which no one thought was going to be the case. They've won a ton of games on the road. His save percentage is off the charts. He's been great. Talbot, for me, if you just went, do I think he holds on for the year at plus 400? I don't know. I don't know if he can keep it up the whole season. But if you went mid-season award for me right now, goaltender of the year, he wins it for me right now. Now, who do I think possibly wins it actually for the season? That one's a little tougher. And I'm going to go back to the team you're going to hear me talking about quite a bit. Toast, help me out here because I butcher his name every time we talk about him. New York Rangers.
Igor Shesterkin.
Shesterkin. I always screw up his name. Toast makes fun of me every freaking time because I say it 100 different ways. I don't know why. I never even say it the same way twice. I always butcher it. But I actually think the Rangers are going to be a team that's going to be really good down the stretch. He's been solid. Their defense has been good. He's the guy that I'm probably right now, if I'm putting in a bet mid-year, he is at plus 1,400 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that at plus 1,400, the team that I think is going to be in the mix. Now, he was plus 600, so this is another one where I like to hit that double down. If I took him at plus 600 to start the year, I'm jumping back in at plus 1,400 at this point. If I believe in him and I believe in the Rangers, which I do, I just think this team is going to be really good in the East. He is my guy, Igor. I'm just going to start calling him Igor. He's my guy because I mess up his last name every time. But he's probably the guy I'm betting long-term for the season. I think he ends up winning this award. Just for the odds, I like the odds. Demko, I think, has played great. I think Vancouver's going to be in the mix. I just don't like the plus 350 for him. It's too shaky for me at plus 350 to take him at that. I'd rather take someone else.
Agree. Demko is a good goalie. There's no doubt about it. But Shesterkin and the Rangers, really, he's had more of the pedigree underneath him to really go out and win this award. And like you said, the double down factor for you to be able to get him at plus 600 before the season started and now at plus 1,400. And that's mainly just because Demko and Talbot's been so amazing. That's the only reason why he's actually fell. It's nothing he's done actually wrong. So Shesterkin, I love Shesterkin. He's actually my second favorite. My favorite for this award really hasn't changed since the preseason. And it was Connor Hellebuck at plus 700. And in the preseason, it's Connor Hellebuck at still plus 700 right now. Hellebuck's got 15 wins in 23 games played, and he's got a 916 save percentage. And those are really, really good numbers. Those may not be Vezina numbers that just jump off the page at you when it comes to the save percentage. 960 is really, really good. Jeremy Swayman for Boston's got a 933 save percentage. Okay. But what I like about Hellebuck is he does it year in and year out. He's Mr. Steady. And Winnipeg's actually starting to figure it out right now. They're 18, 9, and 3. They got a plus 20 goal differential as well for the 8th best record in the entire league. And Hellebuck has a lot to do with that. With his steadiness, he's always reliable. So I'll mention a couple other guys here that you got. Jeremy Swayman. Jeremy Swayman has a 933 save percentage right now, 9 wins for Boston in 15 games played. The only reason he won't win this award is because he is sharing time with Linus Ullmark, who was the winner of this award last year. So he's not going to win it. You got a two-headed monster there. That's why Boston is still as good as they are with guys like.
Same with Boston. I was going to say Vegas is in the same boat. Vegas, one of the best teams in the league. They got Thompson and Hill. So it's going to be tough on those teams when you got guys that are splitting time there. Igor, I talked about 286 goals against, 90.06 save percentage. He's got 12 wins. That's why I like him. Talbot, like I said, he's been on top of the world. 13 wins, 2.02 goals against, 926 save percentage.
That's getting
at this point for a team that no one was expecting anything out of this year. And I mean, I've seen years where I had Cam Talbot on my fantasy team, and I was like, he got worked. I mean, he got worked. I was like, I got to get this guy in my lineup. He has been just great for the Kings this year. Like I said, I don't know if he can do this for the full season, but he is my mid-season award for him. Like I said, I tell you what, another guy that's really been a surprise an oldie but goodie, Bob. Sergei Bobrovsky for the Florida Panthers, 14 wins, 249 goal against, 911 save percentage. I actually, when we were looking at these awards, I actually have him on my fantasy team. And I was like, he's playing way better than I thought he was. Like,
Plus
I'm like, oh
4,000.
man. I was like, man, those numbers are way better than I anticipated looking at that. And you're right. That's what I was going to bring up right there. He currently sits at plus 4,000 for this award.
Yeah.
Now, can he stay healthy? Can he play the whole year? Can he keep it up? I don't know. I don't know. But it would be interesting to see. He was originally plus 4,000. I need to look up. Toast, tell me who you like. I'm going to look up and see if I can find his odds right now currently.
Yeah, go ahead and check that out. But I'll talk a little bit about Bobrovsky as well. JT is one reason why he's really he's getting that volume is because Spencer Knight really hasn't been with the team. He's had some personal issues. I think player assistance program he's kind of stepped away from that. And Knight would have been a goalie who would have stole a lot of stars from Bobrovsky either last year or even moving into this year as well. And Bobrovsky's really been that mainstay in goalie. And he's been phenomenal. I mean, so while Florida really hasn't really got off to the best start, I wouldn't say they've been awful. Again, they're 18, 11, and 2. That's not bad, right? That's actually 11th best in the league. But based on how they ended the season last year, you'd expect them to be a little bit better. But Bobrovsky is actually a big reason why they've actually stayed there at a late 18, 11, and 2. Did you mention, JT, I think 15 wins, 15 out of their 18 wins go to Bobrovsky.
Yes, he's got 14. I just looked it up. He started the year at plus 4,000. He's currently sitting at plus 3,000 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty solid bet from a guy, that we've seen do it in the past.
Yeah, sprinkle $10 on it.
I mean, we've seen these guys in the past, these older goalies get rejuvenated, get a run together, do something. I just like that. Like I said, I got him on a fantasy team. He has looked way better than I thought. I've gotten way more. I drafted him really late because this thing I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of him, but I think the Panthers are going to be good. He can get me some wins. He's been way better than I originally anticipated.
Agree.
So it's all right. We talked enough about goalies. We like the goalies, but let's move on here. The Roger Richard Trophy top goal scorer last year runaway. Connor McDavid was the winner from Edmonton. Original favorites, obviously McDavid plus 220 to start the year. Austin Matthews was plus 550. Draisaitl was plus 700. Pasta was plus 900. Things have adjusted slightly here as we get moving through. What are you looking at? Is there stuff you like here? Who are you kind of shooting for here? McDavid got, off to that rough start, a little bit of injury problems for him. Draisaitl, a guy that I've put some money on in the past, but again, they got off to a slow start in Edmonton. Does Matthews jump out at you? Kucherov, who of these guys jump out do you think could win this?
Matthews jumps out at me, and main reason because I believe last year was a down season for Matthews, and when I say down season, he scored somewhere in the 40s for goals, and for him that's a bad season. The year before that, I think he was over 60. This year he's already got 25 goals in 28 games. So, and he's scoring. If you again look at the last 6 games, he's scoring goals in bunches. 2 goals a game is almost like it's happening right now for him, and he is on an absolute heater. And I could see this keeping up for some time. Honestly, I don't really see it slowing down at all. So, do I think, barring injuries, that he'll be over the 60 goal mark? I do. And I think that he will win this award. Kucherov is another guy I really like to potentially win this award. But again, and the main reason being is because he's shooting the puck a heck of a lot more as well. But I just have a feeling you've seen Matthews do this before when it comes to goal scoring, and that with a guy at 25 goals right now, 12 assists, his main job is to put the puck in the back of the net, and I think he'll continue to do that. So with Austin Matthews now at plus 125, you just only hoped, especially for those guys that are the high rolls, actually have a lot of capital underneath them, that you would have bet him at plus 550 moving, at the preseason.
Yeah, the 550 was the move. We talked about it earlier in the year. I leaned a little bit Draisaitl at plus 700. I like the odds. Our long shot odds, we liked Alex Ovechkin at plus 2,500. And our super long shot was Stamkos at plus 10,000, which, seeing what's happened with him, Kucherov is why he's been there. Kucherov for the money, he currently sits third with 22 goals behind Brock Bowser and Matthews at 25 goals. But the question is for him, like we talked about, can he keep that up? Does
Uh,
Kucherov keep that up? I mean, that's going to be tough for him to stay up there all year in that mix. A guy I like a little more, if you go down just a ways, talked about David Pastrnak. Pasta, number 4. He's at 19 goals right now.
uh-huh.
Matthews is on a tear. Injuries are always a possibility. I just think Pasta's not going to slow down. If you want a little more odds, he's still second. He's at plus 300. He's right behind Matthews at plus 125. Kucherov's sitting there at plus 600. Do you think McDavid makes a monster comeback? If you do, now's the time to bet him. He's at plus 800 after being at plus 220 to start the year. But to me, I find it hard to put money on anyone else but those 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, I like David Pastrnak as another choice, and as the second best choice here, probably given the money and given again what he normally do. 61 goals scored last year in 82 games, 407 shots on goal. This year, he's got a league leading 158 shots on goal so far. He's only scored 19 goals only in 30 games. He's only shot 12%. He's got a career average of 14%. Last year, he shot 15%. Even back in 2018, 2019, he's over 16 and 17% as well. There's a bunch of goals. And we talked about there's not a lot of mouths to feed on that team. I mean, you're going to see him score a ton of goals for this team who actually lost a lot in the offseason. So, if I had to do it all over again, okay, Matthews I really, really like, but Pasternak's probably the best bet.
Yeah, so for me, I think Matthews is the guy, but odds are not great if you want to bet him right now. So if I'm taking somebody, I'm taking Pasta. Kucherov I like, but I just can he keep this goal scoring up? That's the toughie for me. If he does, it makes the bet for MVP a whole lot better because if he can keep scoring goals, that definitely looks better for him as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, if there was an award, JT, for most assists, I'm on Kucherov right now, and for overall points, I got him.
Yep, assists right now. Kucherov's second in the league, 32, tied with Quinn Hughes. Nathan McKinnon is actually leading the league with 34. And even though McDavid's been a little banged up, he's still fourth in the league with 30. So that's nice. And it points, Kucherov right now, like we talked about, leading the league in points, 54. Guy's been off to an unreal start. McKinnon right now sitting at 48, JT Miller 45. And then Pasta currently fifth overall in points there. So yeah, I mean, we got a lot of guys in the mix. Let's look in. We're not going to talk about many team awards, but one of the ones we will, because the one you can bet on at the beginning of the year is the President's Trophy for most regular season points. So last year, like you said, just historic year for the Boston Bruins. Set the record, most points ever scored. So we come into the season knowing that, but we know there's some changes. Originally, the lead to start off the year, Carolina was the favorite at plus 450. So Boston lost some guys. Carolina was the favorite plus 450. Edmonton, everybody was on at plus 600, and Toronto at plus 800. Two teams we liked tied with Toronto was Dallas and New Jersey. Colorado was also plus 800, but we really like Dallas and New Jersey at plus 800. And then our team, our long shot that me and you both were pretty big on, we like Tampa Bay at plus 6,000. And so that was our long shot bet of the season. Currently, New York Rangers plus 275 is number 1. Boston has moved up to number 2 at plus 450. Vegas is number 3 at plus 600. The Kings surprisingly in there at plus 750. Dallas at plus 750 and Colorado at plus 1100. Those are the current favorites in the betting market.
JT, here's my thoughts on the President's Trophy if I'm actually a betting man. Okay. The East, and especially the Metropolitan Division, is loaded. I believe they'll beat up on one another this year. So I really don't want to bet anybody out of the East to win the President's Trophy for most regular points scored, regular season points scored as a team. So that comes to the West. I think there's better money out in the West, and I just keep coming back to a team that's actually really excelled right now, and that's Vancouver. And for best for your bang for your buck, right? Vancouver's got a league leading plus 44 differential right now in goal differential. They got Demko as the goalie. They got JT Miller. They got Elias Pettersson. Brock Besser's having a career season as well. Quinn Hughes is the Norris Trophy favorite. Philip Hronek's actually come on and actually solidified himself as a very, very almost an assist per game defenseman to actually really come in and help out Quinn Hughes. I don't really know why they couldn't do it. All right. And especially after they got off to such a horrible start last year and then made the coaching change, and they've been pretty darn good since then. And they've come out this year and are 22-9-2, 46 points, which is second most in the entire league, and a plus 44 goal differential. I'm betting Vancouver, and honestly, I didn't even list them on our DraftKings favorites, and I don't even know what their odds are.
I got it. I got it for you, Toast, and you're gonna love them.
Yep.
Plus 2,000
Yeah,
currently for Vancouver. I freaking love those odds. Plus 2,000 in the West. I'm in the same boat with you. If I'm betting President's Trophy winner, I agree. I'm taking someone from the West. I just think the East is too tough. I think it's going to be tough for those teams to get as many wins. The West has been down this year. I like your plus 2,000 on the Canucks. Another team I would maybe jump in if I like the odds more. Plus 600 for the Knights are the West favorite. And then you got the Avalanche at plus 1,100. So that's maybe where if you just don't believe in Vancouver that they can play this good all season, plus 2,000 for right me. I love those odds. But plus 1,100 for Colorado, I think is another really solid bet that they could get hot the second half of the season.
Agree.
Now, let's talk about East Coast side, because I know neither one of us love the East Coast as far as this is concerned. Now, the Rangers currently sit at plus 275 to win the President's Trophy. I don't love the odds of them winning the President's Trophy, but I do like them winning the East and get the Stanley Cup Finals. So they were my Stanley Cup Final pick from the East. I know me and you both have talked about this team all year. I still like Dallas, even though they've had some ups and downs. I still like Dallas as the other team coming out of there. I have Dallas versus the Rangers. I'm going to hold off on who I think wins that. But I just think the Rangers, for some reason, I just keep coming back to them. I just think they're going to play good defense. I like their goalie. I think their offense has improved. I think they've got just enough firepower in the East, because I feel like a lot of the East teams are either way heavy on the offense or way heavy on the defense. I feel like you get teams like the Islanders that I like the Islanders, but I think they're really defensive squad. Do they have enough firepower to get in? On the other side, Boston, can they put up points? Toronto puts up points. Do they have enough defense to get it done? That's where I'm wondering. For me right now, I'm leaning on coming out of the East. I'm liking the Rangers. What do you think about the East?
I like the Rangers. I really, really do. They're probably the favorite in the East right now. But, I don't know what their odds are currently. I would imagine that they're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of the win the East, plus 500, somewhere around there.
They are currently the favorite to win the East at plus 450.
There you go.
Twins are tied with them at plus 450, with Hurricanes and Maple Leafs right behind them at plus 650 in the East currently.
Yep. So if I'm going to bet, I want to talk about a team that this is a stab in the dark. Okay. But I'm going to tell you why I would actually bet them, because I wouldn't be putting a whole lot of money on it. They'll end up having the best odds by far. And this is a team that over the years has always had very, very good goaltending, and they've had very little offense. And they usually played an unbelievably tight, boring game between the blue lines that would just kind of put people to sleep. And I'm talking about the New York Islanders. But this year, the Islanders have actually become an offensive team, and they still can play defense, even though this year they're allowing the third most shots in the NHL so far. I almost like the fact that they're allowing the third most shots in the NHL this year. That
It's
almost tells
forcing
me
them to
the
play.
fact that
It's forcing them to play
yeah,
more offense. They're playing a
yeah,
little more offense now.
yeah, and I think down the road that's actually going to help them, and they got guys like Horvat that's come over and become really, in my opinion, the leader of their team after they're getting traded from Vancouver, or I'm sorry, from Winnipeg, sorry, and coming over, and then going there. And Matt Barzal's actually been a point per player game so far. Noah Dobson has actually been tearing the world on fire, man. Setting the world on fire. He's been so unbelievably good. They got Ilya Sorokin at goalie, and Sorokin's, I mean, geez, he's one of the best goalies in the world as well. They play and again, why I like the Islanders, they've proven in the past they can turn it on and play a defensive, tough-minded team, or a tough-minded game, and they've also proven this year they can actually turn it on offensively as well. That's the type of team that actually wins the cup. Yeah, the teams that actually can adjust in the playoffs and play different types of games. And I like the Islanders for that as well. They got a good mix of young balance, and really, really good mix of veteran leadership there as well. I'm not sitting here telling you the Islanders are going to win the cup, but you can just know by going and looking last year. Florida comes out of nowhere and actually goes to the cup final, ends up having some unfortunate injuries, and almost wins the thing. Vegas was on nobody's radar to actually win the cup, let alone even make the playoffs last year. Why wouldn't you put money on the Islanders this year? They're doing something different than they normally do.
Yep. Right now, Islanders sit at plus 2,500 to win the East. And if you wanted to just take that little extra and put some money on them to win it right now, the Islanders are sitting at plus 5,000 to win the
Yeah.
Stanley Cup. So I agree with you on that one. We talked about in the West. We've both been on Dallas most preseason on. We both liked them a lot. Looking at it currently out of the West, if you hold on, I got to pull it up here. I'm messing things up here. Dallas right now is the third favorite out of the West. It's right now Avalanche 380 plus 400 for the Knights. Dallas at plus 500, which I really like. And like we said, you had the Canucks at plus 1,100 with how well they've played. It's kind of surprising they're still that low. Stars plus 500. I still like it. I still think they come out of the West. I still think they win it. What do you think?
I think the Stars win it. They've had some injuries at the goaltending position with Ottinger, but Scott Wedgwood has really stepped up and has got that veteran presence in net. Has played really, really well. They've got younger guys like Harley as a defenseman who's actually stepped up. Miro Heiskanen, and then their top line, and we talked about this, a couple podcasts ago, a couple episodes ago, that of Robertson, Henson, Pavelski. They've been good,
Okay,
but
solid, not as
they
good
can
as you
do
think. Yeah,
they can do a lot more. I don't think this team's got going yet. I really, really don't. Right now, they're actually sitting at 18-8-4. How about a team that actually says they haven't got going yet and they're at 18-8-4, sixth best record in the league? I think they could be way better. I really, really do.
I
So
totally
to
agree with you.
me, Dallas is still. And again, you talk about the young. You got Wyatt Johnston as a third young, real good player as their third center on the third line. Jamie Benn, who is a leader on that team. I having a brain fart. I think he's the captain of the team, but nevertheless, he is down there on the third line as well. The second line on that Dallas team with Marchment, with Sagan, and also with Duchesne, who actually came over from Nashville. That's the veteran line, the line two that has taken, in my opinion, Dallas over the top to be a cup favorite, because now they have the balance of lines 1 through 3 They all can actually hurt you. There's not a big drop off between them as well. They got the goaltending. They got the good veteran leadership to go along with the young players as well. Love Dallas. Love Dallas. To me, that's who I'm picking.
Yep, and Stars, when we took them in preseason, they were at plus 1,400. They are now at plus 1,000. So they've dropped them just quite a bit. So you're getting some better odds now. I still like them a lot. One of the other teams we liked originally preseason coming out of the East, me and you both were on the Devils. We liked New Jersey at plus 900 to win the Cup. Again, we both kind of moved to the New York teams as opposed to Jersey here recently. I still think the Devils have something in them. They just got to figure out the goaltending. It's something that the Islanders and the Rangers have that they don't have. And I think that's the difference right now in those teams. And for me, if I'm taking NHL champion, if I'm taking Stanley Cup champ, Devils at plus 1,500, I'd rather have the Islanders at plus 5,000.
Yep, me too.
I would. I mean, that's a bet I'm making.
Goaltending, JT.
Goaltending makes a huge deal. I think, best bang for your buck, like you said, plus 5,000 right now. If you took them to win it all, Stanley Cup final, like Toe said, he still thinks Dallas is winning it, but he likes them winning the East. So that's still good numbers. I like Dallas winning it. Rangers right now, I was a little shocked when I looked this up. They're actually the favorite. I don't know if it's that East Coast bias, people putting money on the Rangers, what it is, but right now they're at plus 750. Avalanche are plus 750, and the Bruins are at plus 750. All three tied for Stanley Cup champion odds. Dallas, you sitting back there at fourth. Maple Leafs are at 1,200, along with Hurricanes. Hurricanes start of the year is the favorite. And a couple things back. The fact that the Kings are at plus 1,300 blows my mind. I like them. I'm shocked that even though they've been off this great start, they're that high compared to where they started the year. That seems kind of crazy. But yeah, Canucks, if they can make their way out of the West, that may be amazing. But they're plus 2,200, and like Toe said, plus 5,000 for the Islanders. We both still sit with our plus 1,000 on the Dallas Stars. We are just past the hour here, Toast. Let's come in with our final face-off and our final thoughts for the night here on our mid-season awards.
JT, I want to give a preview to the listeners on what we're going to do next time out. I think you and I are going to have a little bit of a redraft to where we pick one division only in the East, preferably, Detroit's division, and probably the Central Division in the West. And you and I will actually do the best we can to go ahead and build our 23-man roster based on those division teams only. So a team, a division of let's say, 8 teams, right? Only those 8 teams. So basically we'll pick a quarter from the league. We'll go ahead and come out there with a draft, a midseason draft, and we'll see who can come up with the best team. Go ahead and give some of that feedback to our listeners and have a little bit of fun. I think it'll be a good change of pace.
Yeah, we like to mix things up here. I think it'll be a fun time. If we got anybody out there, listeners, or anybody who wants to try to participate in that, hit us up on the X. You can hit me up at JT Orange or Bryan Toast Clark at Toast Clark on the X. We've talked about it, whether we're going to bring in some guest drafters to kind of jump in on with this to mix things up. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit one or both of us up, and maybe we can make something happen here on a few of these future episodes. But Toast, man, great first half of the season. I've been pumped about hockey. It's been a great so far this year. Bedard's been there for your Blackhawks, even though they haven't been good. He's got you excited. I'm excited about what the Wings have brought, and the league. Just a lot of the superstars looking good this year. Just been a lot of exciting games out there. Kind of your thoughts on it? I've been pumped for hockey this year, and it's been a great first half of the season. I can't wait for the second half.
Yeah, parity in the league is pretty impressive. You only have a couple bottom feeders, teams that are really quote unquote tanking. But really, you look at like I said, the Atlantic Division and even the Metropolitan Division out in the East, and the parity's so tremendous out there. And even in the West, you got literally right now, JT, I would say 10, 11 teams that if they were to win the cup, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe what I've actually seen. It's fairly wide open this year. So I think that the best hockey is yet to come. There's been years past where you're like, man, okay, based on where I see the team this year, based on what they've done in years past, it's probably going to be them again. But really, there's been a lot of leveling out.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us on the Stew with JT Brew in our segment of NHL Around the Ice with JT and Toast. Check us out every Wednesday. If you miss our live YouTube, you can go back, rewatch it on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe and like the Stew with JT Brew. Also, you can find us on all your favorite podcasting hosting sites. We're on all that, so we download immediately after the show every Wednesday. So if you get up Thursday morning looking for some hockey in your life, go ahead and download us and take a listen. Thanks, Toast, for joining me. I'm JT. You've been listening to the Stew. We appreciate it. See you later.
You up on trades and why you move? You ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release. We started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery.